Yo, 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 this is Renan with Piece of Pie Learning, and this is The Slice, where we serve up sweet, hot tips and insights on how to crush the SAT math. With us today, we have one of our former math monsters that took our math prep course back in March and then a little bit in May, like a little recap. Wasn't actually present to every class because she had volleyball tournaments, right?
Yep.
But she was one of the few students that I actually believed when she told me she would make up the lectures.
Every time.
Every time, right?
Every time.
And one of the few students who actually, I believe, did all my homework or most of my homework.
100%.
And I think it showed. Clearly did really great. It was always a good time when she was in class. Had her doing problems with no hands. That was cool. So it goes without saying that I'm really glad that you're here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Let everyone know, who you are, where you're at, what your plans are.
So my name is Danielle Medina. I'm a senior at Carrollton, and for next year, I don't know the plan yet, but I'm between going to Notre Dame and Ross at Michigan. So I have decisions to make.
Hard decisions to make, very difficult.
Only got there because of my math score.
What'd you end up getting on the math?
I got a 790.
And what'd you have before that?
680. Had a 680 on both English and math.
So to kind of give people an idea, so you were already pretty good at math, right?
Yeah.
What math class were you taking at the time?
Junior year, honors pre-calc.
And you had taken an SAT before you did tutoring, correct?
I took an SAT in November before I started tutoring, and I got a 680. Yeah.
When you took that test, did you expect the 680? Were you surprised? Did you feel like, how did it feel in the moment? Did you feel like you weren't prepared because of school? Give me some info on that.
So before that test, I was tutoring for reading and English somewhere else, and the week before, I ran into a wall at volleyball practice, and then the Saturday of the test, I could not keep my eyes open during the reading section. I could not focus. I get to the math and I was like, no, I couldn't, my head was pounding. I remember walking out and my mom was like, you look white. You're not okay. I went to the hospital right after, had a concussion. I thought I failed the test. I think I did better guessing than actually trying to do it. That was the horrible SAT. And then I was like, I took a break from testing obviously after. And then I started seeing the Instagram online, on people's stories. And I was like, this is where I need to tutor. I want to get out of the way already quickly. And that's it. Cause I took a break for a while till March. Cause I couldn't do schoolwork. So.
Well, yeah. So you probably took November test.
I took November. I was supposed to take December, but I wasn't allowed to.
Right.
My counselor was going to try to get my November score canceled because it was obviously excused, yeah. But we never did since I took it on later. But I took a break for a while. So I was I need to improve quickly.
Well, yeah. So you took a month approximately because our prep course for the March test starts in January.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But then whatever, you missed I don't know when you missed, to be honest. You said you thought you missed the whole class. I know you missed out of the 8 or now we have 9 sessions, but we had 8 sessions back in the day.
Yeah, I think I went to half.
You probably went to that. I remember you being in class.
I remember attempting the problems with no pen and paper.
I was
definitely there.
But hold up. So aside from the concussion though,
mm-hmm.
Do you feel like if you weren't concussed at the moment, you could have just done better and not needed tutoring maybe?
I don't know. Also because that was my first test and I hate standardized testing. I always get really nervous. So since that was my first one, I wasn't expecting to do that good. So I was just this is just get all the jitters out of the SAT. After this one, then I'll be ready. I know what to expect, even though obviously I'd done practices before, but it's not the same sitting there taking it with all the kids. Nah.
Yeah, I know. It's the real deal.
Yeah.
And when you say you're not good at standardized tests, are you saying just more so SAT, or have you taken other, what about tests in school, or is it just standardized?
Standardized tests. At my old school, we did something called ITBS, tests to get into high school, those type of tests.
So when like so you would say that you're somebody who does well in school in general,
Yeah.
good grades,
Good
you
grades.
test well in school.
Test well in school. Just the standardized test where you can't, other than SAT where you like tutor for that, but the standardized test where you can't really prepare. It's not stuff you're like taught throughout the year. I'm not good at those.
So like, would you say that's something similar that you saw on the SAT, like the stuff that was on there? Do you feel like it was stuff that wasn't taught at school?
Some of it, yeah, there was some stuff that was completely foreign to me before like when I sat down to take the test. I was like, I've never seen this before.
No,
See,
I mean, of
let's
course,
see.
of course,
Yeah.
the SAT covers algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, a little bit of stats and pre-calc. Like it,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, I actually do like the SAT as a test, as like a gauge of how much you learned. I know there's a lot of hate towards it, but and maybe I'm a little biased, but
Yeah.
I do think it does test how much you learn in school. But you know, like, so although there are things if you learned and remembered them well, that's the
Yeah.
big, like,
It's also the time, I think, because I think if I had like extra time, then like I would all like do way better. I think some of my mistakes obviously are like rushing through stuff that like if I took my time, I would get right. But
what do you think helped with that?
with the timing,
Yeah.
I feel like just like learning all the possible, like, okay, so like there's different like math subjects in the test, like learning all the possible questions. I don't know if this makes sense, that like could be on each like subject. Because like when I tutored before, it was like we'd take practice tests and then you'd correct the ones you'd get wrong, and that was it. When I took yours, it was like a math class where I was learning like, oh, we're learning parabolas. Like this is everything, every possible like question that the SAT could have on parabolas. Like all of these could be thrown at you. I remember exponentials was horrible for me. I think I watched that video a ton of times. Like I was like, I need to know how to do this one, this one, this one. And like before, my tutoring was like, do a practice test, just correct the ones you got wrong. Like what if I guessed one right and I wouldn't have actually learned how to do that one because I like guessed it right, so I wouldn't have corrected it. But yours was like a math class, like a school math class. So I like learned everything, and then like I just was able to do it, I guess.
And it's like, look, I've taken this test. You already know this, right? I've taken this test like 12 times. And I'm sorry to say it, but as much as they try to standardize every test and make every test look the same, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I know this is a fact that these tests, although they test the same concepts, are very different.
Yeah.
So it's like you were saying, it's like, all right, yeah. And this is like only one point to what you were saying. There's more to it. But like one point is like, you know, you get one wrong and then you go over it. Cool, right? Let's say you know how to do that one problem now.
Exactly. Like that problem has like 5 other variations to it. So like just learning that one does nothing.
And that's so like back in the day when I first started tutoring, and I think it's how most people go about tutoring students for this, right? It's the easiest thing because you have practice tests that are available. Yeah. You do the practice, you know how to go over the problem and you call it a day. The hard part is actually having enough problems. And I still struggle with that sometimes, right? Like we have, I would say like we have like 3,000 plus problems, right? So like every problem that I've seen, you saw the package, like every package we do is like 30 pages. So there would be like, for like one question type, like you're saying like quadratics, there's probably like, you know, 50 problems or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. No, I would do those over and over. Like I was like, when do I have to divide the M? When do I have to multiply? I was like, oh, these words, like I had to know every variation for each problem, or I would not have done as well.
Right. And even then, having all of this, there's still sometimes where there's a problem that a student will send me and be like, hey, can I have more practice on this? And I'm literally like, yo, to be honest, like that's like a one-of-one problem.
That's new. Sorry.
You know, yeah, literally, like the SAT just pulled this out of, you know, in air, and they do spend a lot of money making these tests different as possible. So I feel it makes sense that that's going to happen. But regardless, I don't know. In my opinion, the best, so that you're not gambling, the best way to be prepared for any variation is to do what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever you, I mean, this, if you want to be fully prepared, you go over every concept and like every nuance of every question type, regardless of your strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
As you know, depending on the group that you were placed in, we just go over, like, for example, you're good at math. We were just going over, well, sometimes they were easy for you, but for the most part, I would try to give you only the hard problems for every topic.
Yeah.
right? But let's say you don't have that time and you want to like, focus in on only your weaknesses. And actually, it's something I've been doing in the recent prep course that I wasn't able to do for you, right? As we get towards the end, like right now, I'm currently doing that where I'm starting to look at all of their practice tests, and I can quickly do this at this point. I can go through somebody's practice test and quickly tell which topic they need most help with. And then I'm assigning them the packet of all the nuances and all of the variations to that specific thing. So it's like, localize your weak point, but then attack, don't just do one problem, do 50.
Yeah, I think I remember right before mine, I asked you for a ton of like quadratic packets because that was my problem. I'd always forget those
the forms or the
like formulas. The little word problems. I'd forget if it was either multiplying the exponent in the problem or dividing it. Always. I never knew. Or like, what is the ones that are like, what does this number mean in like
interpreting?
Yeah. Those were the worst.
I mean, you said you don't like to read, so
exactly. It adds up. It adds up.
The more math was involved for you, the better. So like anything that was like, what does this mean? You were like,
yeah, no. I'd have to like plug in numbers and be like, okay, does this like, is this doing this? Like the worst.
So, okay. So bringing this back to the time thing, one of the things was like, you were like, the time pressure. And then I was like, what do you think helped with time? And you were like, getting used to every variation. So do you feel like because you got used to every variation, it just helped you? Like when you would see a problem, you would immediately know how to do it? Or
I think, because I immediately knew how to do it. Because before it was like, I've seen a problem like this, but what am I supposed to do for this specific one? Knowing all the variations, I'd be like, that's this problem. I know how to do it. So I could do it faster and more confidently, I think. Because before I'd be like, is this one like this or is it like this? So I'd spend more time. And then I just wouldn't be as confident and I wouldn't know.
Maybe you'd guess it right.
Maybe.
I don't know. Some of you guys are good. I mean, you said you struggled with a timer where maybe.
Yeah, I'm a bad guesser.
Okay.
I'm a usual put C.
That speaks more to the improvement you made. Aside from everything you've already said, like I'm trying to find like, things that could help, because there's a lot of students right now who are in a similar position that you were in, who, they either took an SAT and didn't like their score. Maybe they haven't taken one and they're kind of nervous about that first test. Do you have like any general advice?
This is like kind of random, but like I know I did this for the second test that I took. I like got an SAT watch also because the time was like huge problem for me. So then when I'd take practice tests, I knew what minute I should be on by a certain problem. And then that helped me pace myself and like because time was a huge problem for me. So like that helped me with that aspect. Like I got like the SAT watch on Amazon.
It's called an SAT watch?
Yeah. It's like set for ACT and SAT, but I have it on the SAT setting. And like I would just know what time I should be by a certain number and then go from there. Like they have the times for each section of the test.
I feel like I need to have this. So can you give me a little bit more detail on how it works? This is actually very helpful.
Yeah, I was like trying to look for it because it used to hang around here. But like, is the math the first section? No, reading is the first section on the test.
Yeah, there's reading.
Yeah, right? Like it's a little stopwatch. It says reading, the time for the reading. And then after the reading, you press the little button on the side. Grammar, time for the grammar. You start it the second they say start. And then math, non-calc, math with calc, start it. And it's like a child's watch. That like my tutor before was always like, guys, get this watch. For the first test, I was like, I don't need a watch. Like I can use the clock in the room. I needed the watch. Now
let me ask you. So does it, because you were saying you knew at what time you needed to be per problem. Was it just like a running clock or did it have?
No, it's just a running clock. But like I doing my practice test with it would figure out where I needed to be, like with the time that I had. So I feel like everyone's gonna have to figure that out on their own based on like how they work on it. But
so you used it when you did your practice test, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the non-calc has how many questions again?
38.
The non-calc? Sorry. Or how much does the calculator have?
Oh, pause. Non-calc has 20.
20. Okay, so for that one, what's the time?
25 minutes. So
I would be done with the first 15 problems in 10 minutes. That was like how I would go through it. 15 problems, 10 minutes. And then
so you did the first 15 problems
in 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So now we have 15 more minutes and then you did the last 5 problems.
Yes. That's how I split up my time.
That's speed.
Because I need more time for the last ones.
Okay.
So like that's how it worked for me. But then also extra time, like go back, check. I remember when I took the May SAT, I think I went through the math 3 times. 3 times. No, like it was bad.
That's not bad. That's crazy good.
Like I was just like again.
Were you always that fast, or did that happen as you took more practice tests?
In math, yeah, because even so at the end of sophomore year, I was doing the ACT and I was tutoring for it. And I would do the first 30 problems in 20 minutes. And it's 60 minutes, 60 questions. I would do the first 30 in 15 to 20 minutes and then have 40 minutes for the last 30.
That makes sense for the ACT, but what about the SAT? When you first took your first practice test you took, you did it 3 times?
No, I would finish on time, maybe with 2 minutes left. I don't think I would check it.
Right.
Like I wouldn't check from like number 1 to number 20. I would check the ones that I'd circled that I wasn't sure about.
Did you ever, on a practice test, have time to check your work?
Yeah, more towards the end. In the beginning, it was a little rough. It was always just like check the ones that I'm not sure of. Like also when I'd go through it, like I try to be thorough my first run through. So like if I am confident that this one's right, I'm gonna like leave it to the end to check if I have time. Like I'm always gonna go back to the ones that I'm unsure of.
Right.
But by the end, like I would go through it like 2 to 3 times, and like do each problem 2 to 3 times.
So that's what I tell people. I mean, you did get a 790, right? You missed one. Sorry, you can't be in the 800 squad. I've never had a person get an 800 who told me that they didn't check their work and catch at least 1 or 2. Did you catch a mistake on that test day or no? You were precise.
I think I caught a few, and I was worried because I was like, I changed so many answers. Like I shouldn't have changed my answers. Like I left again, super like I'm gonna have to take it again.
That's actually a sign of that you did well. Like whenever a student tells me, like they come out of the test and like, yo, mister, I killed it. Everyone feels great. Like depending if they did enough tutoring, they usually feel pretty great. Mister, I killed it. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, well, how do you think you did? How many think you got wrong? And then they'll be like, yeah, I got like 7 wrong.
Oh no, actually, I think I said that. I think I finished and I was like, it was too easy. I'm scared. Because since I don't think I'd ever reached 3 times going through it until the day of the actual test. And I was like, that's unusual. And usually when I'm overconfident is when I do bad. So I felt uncomfortable at how like confident I was taking the test. If that makes sense.
So yeah, no, that makes sense. And I mean, I get a little uncomfortable when kids are too confident too. So like usually they'll come out and they're like, oh, I killed it. And I'm like, well, how'd you kill it? Like, how many did you get wrong? They're like, oh, like I probably got like 7 wrong. Anytime a kid says they got 7 wrong, they got 12 wrong for the most part. So it's only when a student comes out and tells me like, okay, I think I got them all. And I was able to check my work and I caught like 3 mistakes. I'm like, you got a 7.8. Because the test, like what people don't realize is that every answer choice is an answer that you can get. So like just getting an answer that's an answer choice does not mean you got it right. And in fact, there's a good chance it could be the trap answer. Yep.
Used to always get me. Like I know, I remember, I think you asked me how it went and I was like, I don't want to say good because I remember I was like, because in school tests, sometimes when I'm like, killed that was so easy, finished in like 5 minutes, I get it back and it's like, oh, so did not kill that at all. It's usually the ones where I'm like, that did not go well that I end up doing like well on. But I remember I was scared because I was like, it was too simple.
Yeah, you just felt like it was too much of a breeze.
Yeah, it was like I had never felt like that taking, because even your practice test, like when I'd go through it 1 or 2 times, there were still a few that I was like trying to like finish with the time. Like I remember, I think I sat there at the test. Like I think I sat there like 30 seconds left. I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like I was like 4 times 30 seconds. Like I can't do that. Maybe I would have caught the one if I'd used those 30 seconds, because it was like problem. Maybe. Yeah.
No, that's tough. It was probably a silly mistake. Oh no, we talked about this. Let's not go there. So, all right. Aside from that, okay. So like the things that I've gotten so far, do every in terms of advice, right? Do every variation possible for every kind of question in order to be prepared for the variability of the exam, right? Step one. Step two, work on your time management, get the freaking watch, take the test time with the watch so that you can practice your time management. And both, I mean, the thing you said about familiarizing yourself with every nuanced problem also helps with time.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that I think would help a lot of people is, because I know you did your work and I know you play volleyball.
That one, because I remember, I remember Gia told me this, one of your other students who like recommended me to you. She was like, it seems like a lot, but you actually have to do it. And like when I would do tutoring before, I hated doing the work because reading, grammar, but like I was oddly motivated to do this because it was just math. I was like, it's not going to take that long, like 25 minutes and then 55 minutes.
For the, for the.
So like, I would like just lock myself in my room, like, and like I wouldn't, it doesn't feel like I'm doing work when I do math. Like I don't know, like I like enjoy working out math problems. I sound so weird, but like
I mean, I do too. And I'm sure there's people out there who feel you.
Cause like when I do the reading practices, I look around, I look at the clock, like, but like the math, it's like I'm working on it and then I'm like, oh, like time's done. Like, so like, no, I had to actually do it. I would have failed if I didn't.
I was gonna ask you for like time management tips, but I mean, we can still go there because like I mean, to one extent, it's like, but you enjoy doing it, so that's I'm sure. Look, like I was saying, I'm sure some kids.
Oh, like time management with doing the homework.
Yeah, how'd you fit it in? And I know, like I know that for you, you enjoyed it, and it didn't take that long. Like I'm saying, some people are gonna feel that, but I know there's others who like may struggle more with it, and it might take longer for them. And I know you're busy.
Well, because also, okay, what I used to do with my old ones too is I wouldn't put the time. So it'd take me longer because I wouldn't put the time. If you put the time, you have to finish within the time. So like 55 minutes and 25 minutes, that's not that bad. Like take a 5-minute, no, I wouldn't take breaks. But like if you put the time, like you're going to finish within, like it's going to go by super quick. Like before I'd always be like, oh, like I'll put the time when it's like closer to the test date. It's fine. I'd sit there for like 2 hours doing one packet.
Did I only give you practice tests for homework?
No, you gave us packets.
Did I?
But what time?
Maybe not. I don't know, because a lot of things have changed.
Yeah, I remember we'd have practice ones, like the packets that were like, that's when we were like learning everything. But would I ask you to give me time? Because I do better when I have time, because then I have to finish it.
I don't know, man. I to be honest, from what
I think I asked you how much time, and you'd be like, "Oh, put the minutes for the number of problems there are." Like I think you said that one time.
Maybe. So
for like for that specific packet, I may have asked this like once.
This is a year ago, so like it isn't like maybe you're not remembering specifics, but okay. But like what I'm getting from it is, if you want to focus, put everything away and put a timer on.
Yeah, because obviously it's hard. We're all at home. You're not watching us do the homework. But like if I didn't just sit down, I'd be like, guys, I'm like doing my homework right now, and put the time. I would be sitting here. Like I probably would have gotten on my phone, not actually done it. If you just put the time, you have to like work within it and you'll get it done. That's the only way that works for me.
I think that's huge. I mean, it applies to me, and I'm an adult now, or kind of, and I have work things to do. I'm working all day, and I get distracted, and I have to tell myself, put your phone on. They have the new focus mode or whatever on the iPhone, so I have to do that, and then I basically put my phone away, and I do like 90 minutes. I mean, 2 hours can be kind of long, but I'll do like about 90-minute sessions where I just try to zone in and focus, and then I'll go and look at my phone for like 10, 20 or whatever, like usually a little bit less, and then I come back, because I don't know, I feel like a lot of kids out there don't realize how distracted they get, and then they think that the homework takes them 4 hours, when the reality was that they're on their phone for probably half.
Oh, I mean, like I can't like talk because I do my homework like in my bed, phone in my hand, laptop on my lap. It takes me way longer than it should, because obviously there's no timing for homework. But like for this, like this is time the day of. So I was like, I just have to time myself, and it'll only make it go by faster. So no, it's super fun though. Senior year is super fun.
I mean, when you get into when you already got your school and stuff.
Yo, I can't imagine I would be so stressed out. My first one. Okay, technically I first found out from Fordham like the Monday, before I found out from Notre Dame, but that was just like Fordham was just there. But once I found out about Notre Dame, it was the 16th of December, I think. I was like, I'm done. I was like, school, I could get in nowhere else. Like,
So all the work was worth it?
100%. My math SAT, because also, okay, so the math classes I took in school, because at Carrollton before 9th grade, you can take algebra 2 in 8th grade. But at my middle school, it stopped at algebra 1. But like I could have done algebra 2 in 8th grade if it was offered. So I was like kind of behind like a level compared to the highest at Carrollton because of like my middle school. So like I wasn't in the highest math always. So like my counselor wrote like in my application or on my comment app, she was like, look at her SAT math score. Like she should have been in higher classes, but just because of like what you needed because of her middle school, whatever, like she couldn't take them. But like look at her SAT math score. Like they were like, look at it. They would do algebra 2, then everyone in 9th grade does geometry. And then they would do this class called honors analysis of functions in 10th grade, and then go straight into calculus in 11th instead of pre-cal.
You did pre-cal in?
I did pre-cal in 11th, while some of my friends were doing. So last year, some of my friends did AP Calc BC, and others did AB.
You did?
We also have IB. So like the ones who did Calc BC junior year, then did like IB HL in 12th.
So at the end of the day, the SAT math was what came in clutch.
Like I 1,000% think so.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Any last parting words?
Do all the homework packets, get good at your time, and learn all the variations for all the problems.
And take
the SAT piece of pie. Tutoring.
You said it. I was like,
I was about to say SAT watch, but no, that's not what I meant.
I get that too. That's good too.
Get the watch too. Invest.
All right, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you very much. This is great. Peace out, everybody.